Good evening. Welcome to the Easthampton City Council meeting for Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. The meeting tonight is being recorded and broadcast live via Easthampton Media on Charter Channel 193 and live streamed on Easthampton Media's YouTube channel. And we thank the good folks over at Easthampton Media for helping us bring these meetings to you. All counselors and participants in this meeting are gathered remotely they're gathered remotely through an extension of the executive order by Governor Baker. It actually technically expired, but it was voted to extend for a little while yet. This is a special meeting of the City Council, so as such, it's going to have a slimmed down agenda, and except for two small pieces of business that we will do, we're only going to have public hearings tonight. And I would also like to wish our intrepid city clerk a happy birthday today. I thank you, and I am sorry that you have to spend your birthday with us. This meeting is now called to order. Barbara.
Peg Coniff.
Here.
Salem Derby.
Present.
Erica Flood.
Here.
Omar Gomez.
Here.
JP Kaczynski.
Happy birthday, Barb. Here.
Thank you. Tom Peak.
Here.
Dan Rist.
Here.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Here.
Owen Zarrett.
Present.
Let us now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Is the mayor here? Although it's fine if she's not for this part. I don't see her. The mayor is submitting new business tonight, so I'll turn it over to Councilor Rist to move that to committee.
This is a extensive survey of the capability of perhaps adding solar capability to, and an energy audit of our city. And it's going to have some financial ramifications. So the mayor asked that it be placed in the finance committee. We will not review it until our next meeting, July 14th. So I will move that it be set to the finance committee for review.
JP seconded it. Motion is second. Any further discussion? Barbara.
Peg Coniff.
Yes.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Erica Flood.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Omar?
You're muted.
We can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I lose my internet. Sorry.
Okay.
I didn't hear anything. So.
Okay, I'll put you for a yes. JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zarrett.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. We also have kind of a quick piece of business that I will ask the council if there is no objection. We have before us a disclosure by a municipal employee of financial interest. And basically, we have a PE teacher in the schools who is also now going to be the camp director, I guess, of Nonotuck Camp this summer. And because he will be working for two separate groups within the city, one the school committee, the schools, and one Parks and Rec, we need to do this disclosure. So if there is no objection, I will make a motion to approve the disclosure under GL Chapter 268A, Section 20B from Andrew Lawrence, who seeks to provide personal services to Parks and Rec as camp director at Camp Nonotuck. He is an employee of Easthampton Public Schools as a teacher.
Second.
Motion is second to accept and approve the disclosure. Any further discussion? Barbara.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Erica Flood.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Omar.
Can you not hear us, Omar? Okay.
Okay. JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Yes.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Yes.
Owen Zarrett.
Yes.
Peg Coniff.
Yes, motion passes. Okay, Now we will move right into the public hearings.
I move the public hearings be open, Madam President.
Second.
Motion second to open the public hearings. All those in favor, Barbara?
Erica Flood,
Aye.
Omar Gomez. Okay, JP Kaczynski,
Yes.
Tom Peak,
Aye.
Dan Rist,
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild,
Yes.
Owen Zaret,
Yes.
Peg Coniff,
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Councilor Rist, the public hearings are now open.
The first thing on our agenda is an interdepartmental transfer. It was approved 3-0 last night by the Finance Committee. It's $48,205. This is basically a pass-through of money we get from Charter to go to Easthampton Media. It is really an account that's set up for them. They use it. It was noted last night that this account is dwindling because less and less people are using Charter. So that's just something to information. We approved it 3-0 last night. I don't know if there's any questions. It's basically a formality.
Any questions from the councilors? Any questions from the public? And seeing none, Councilor Rist.
I move that the full council approve the following interdepartmental transfer. The amount requested is $48,205.35 to be transferred from the PEG Access account, $48,205.35 to be transferred to the PEG Access account, $48,205.35. For the reason to give approval to spend from the PEG Access receipts reserved account for cable-related purposes consistent with the franchise agreement.
Second.
Motion second to approve an interdepartmental transfer of PEG excess funds. Any further discussion? Barbara?
Omar Gomez,
Aye.
JP Kaczynski,
Yes.
Tom Peak,
Aye.
Dan Rist,
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild,
Yes.
Owen Zaret,
Yes.
Peg Coniff,
Aye.
Salem Derby,
Aye.
Erica Flood.
I abstain just on the grounds that I am the president of the board of directors for Easthampton Media.
Okay, motion passes. Next.
The next up is a supplemental appropriation. It's for $27,000 from Cannabis Stabilization. This is excellent. It's for education and training and racism. This is mandated for all non-union employees in the city. We approved it 3-0. These workshops for the staff at City Hall will provide good beginning in our ability to educate each of our employees on racism. I'd like the mayor if she'd like to say anything about it, but we believe it was the Finance Committee found it very exciting to start, a good start for our city.
Thank you, Councilor Rist. I'm a little not put together here for the camera, but yeah, so as I said at Finance Committee last night, this is undoing racism training with the People's Institute of Survival and Success. They have been doing these trainings since 1980 and have come very highly recommended by other organizations as well as the Department of Justice and the Anti-Defamation League. The employees are mandated to take it. We're starting with leadership and moving on down. Also important to note that both City Council and School Committee are also going to be offered an invitation if this appropriation is considered. I would also be clear that the cannabis money is appropriate for this because of social equity and inequity provisions at the CCC level, the Cannabis Commission level, as well in our host community agreements with our dispensaries. Staff who attend will be, as they are, paid because one, it's a rigorous 3-day training. One of the sessions is over a weekend, and to maintain staffing in our departments, this is way. And I feel that compensation rather than comp time or something like that is less disruptive. And that compensation will come out of CARES or ARPA money and not cannabis money. So that's what I have.
Any questions from the counselors?
Councilor Gomez.
I don't have any question, but I have a comment. I think what the city, and thank you, Mayor, for bringing this up. I think, I believe the racism is real. It's still here, and we have to do something with it. And if the city can make the first step to attach and work on this, I'm more than happy to say yes. And I'm glad that the mayor is doing it. Someone who suffer, not sometimes me as a person, but more as my family. My dad suffered about racism. He grew up in Philadelphia, and he had a really bad time because he was just Puerto Rican. So thank you again, Mayor, for bringing this up. And like I said yesterday, even if this training works only for one person, it's a success. Thank you.
Councilor Kwasinski.
Sorry, I had a little trouble unmuting here. I just wanted to add to Councilor Gomez's comments. I'm glad he said something. I just would like to add that anything that we can do as a community, as individuals, to expand our ability to understand how the world is experienced by others, those who may find themselves not like ourselves, or we are unlike them, is a step in the right direction. So kudos to the mayor. Thank you so much for bringing this to our community. And I will be attending.
Excellent. Madam President, can I just add one more detail? Oops, sorry.
If you would like, sure. Go ahead, Mayor.
Quickly. So the training is over 3 days, very intensive. However, it just doesn't end at the training. The People's Institute it will be ongoing support and helping us as we go forward. So I really was looking for a training that wasn't kind of like one and done, and that was also economically sustainable for our city. And we'll be working with the People's Institute for quite some time if this passes.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Councilor Zarek.
I think the mayor answered my question, and thank you for bringing this forward, Mayor. This actually dovetails nicely to an item that's currently in the Rules Committee, and something I think this might fulfill some of that recommendation or suggestion. And then you answer my question too. So this will be kind of an enrollment into a line of services that will be available to the current employees, and then new employees coming forward will have access to these resources?
So right now, what I'm budgeting for is the 2 sessions that we're looking to purchase would be current employees, members of the council, school committee. And then as new employees, you bring up a great point, as new employees come in, we would probably do this training only once a year. And for additional employees, but the stuff in between, the kind of mini workshops and whatnot, new employees would roll into that. And the People's Institute has assured us that that's appropriate to do, and we shouldn't wait to bring, until we do the big training. Also, I know I've gotten to know a couple of people who actually do it every year and say every year, depending on who's in it and the way that the program works, they get stuff out of it. So I'm, thinking we'll see repeat participants.
And is this asynchronous, Mayor? If some of us can't make the trainings when they're scheduled? Will we have an opportunity to just to watch them afterwards?
That's a great question. I do not know the answer to that.
Okay.
I will get you an answer.
Any other counselors? Any questions? Anyone from the public? Hold on. Shelby and Donovan. Go ahead.
Hi, I just had a quick question. I was wondering why it's only non-union employees receiving the training. Is that because they receive their own trainings? And then one more question related to that. Were any non-employee BIOPAC community members involved in selecting the training? And then a side note, I just wanted to say the Zoom link next to the agenda is super handy. That was recently added. It's much easier to navigate.
You're muted, Peg. You're muted.
I know.
Oh, okay.
So Mayor, if you want to answer that, we don't typically do kind of question and answers, but if you have a very quick answer, go ahead.
The program was selected from input from the Mayor's Pledge Group, but I relied more on Professor Hendricks and Dr. Ashley and Lomax Campbell, as well as Derek Dean from the Department of Justice.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else?
And the union, we're hoping as we renegotiate union contracts, we'll get some language in there. But currently, their training, of the 5 unions in town, are detailed in their contract.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else? Okay. Councilor Rist.
Okay, I'll make a motion that the full council approve a supplemental appropriation. The amount requested is $27,000. It to be transferred from cannabis stabilization, $27,000 to be transferred to the Mayor Education and Training account, $27,000 for the purpose to cover the cost of mandatory undoing racism workshops for staff at City Hall.
Second.
Motion is second to approve a supplemental appropriation for mandatory undoing racism workshops. Any further discussion? Barbara.
JP Kaczynski,
Yes.
Tom Peak,
Aye.
Dan Rist,
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild,
Aye.
Owen Zarrett,
Absolutely.
Peg Coniff,
Aye.
Salem Derby,
Aye.
Erica Flood,
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes.
The next item, which I'm having trouble finding.
The well pump motor.
I got it. $60,000 for the well pump. I'm going to share the screen because these pictures are, oh my God, I didn't want that. Sorry. As you can see, Greg, if you're on, you can explain this, but the well pump for Nonotuck Well is in bad shape. We have in this city a great deal of infrastructure that needs to be repaired, and I wanted to show these pictures as a great example of why we have to be very careful for it. Greg, just step in and you can go ahead. You can see the cracks in a lot of the parts in the pump motor. Are we seeing this? Is everybody seeing this okay?
Yep, looks good.
So, I don't know why it keeps, I don't know if you want to say anything, Greg, but the pictures do tell 1,000 words.
Yep, if you can hear me, we appropriated some money last fall for analysis of what was going on with that. We do vibration analysis testing on all the well pump motors annually, and we found some excessive vibration with the Nonotuck well last year, and we pulled it thinking most of the vibration would be solved with the motor, and we could make some smaller do some smaller refurbishment to the pump, but we found a lot more trouble with it, and thus we need some more funding to get it resolved. So what you can see there is just, it's been in service for about 25 years, and it's just the wear and tear of pumping about 12 hours a day for 25 years. So.
And a lot of the deterioration, as Greg said last night, was due to the mineral content of our water. It's good water, but 25 years is a typical life for these well pumps.
Yes.
And there is no redundancy at this well pump, so we want to get Nonotuck back online, and we need to fix this pump.
Any questions from the councilors? Nope. Any questions Any comments from the public? Okay, seeing none. Councilor Rist?
I move that a city council approve a supplemental appropriation. The amount requested is $60,000 to be transferred from enterprise retained earnings, $60,000 to be transferred to the fiscal year 21 Nonotuck well pump account, $60,000 for the purpose of repairing the Nonotuck well as a source of supply of Easthampton water system. On 2019 inspection of the Nonotuck well pump motor, noted increased vibration and recommended electric motor be removed and overhauled. During the overhaul process, multiple issues of the pump were discovered, which led to an increase in the cost of this project.
Second.
Motion is second to approve a supplemental appropriation for the Nonotuck well pump. Any further discussion? Councilor Kwasinski.
Just a quick comment. Certainly the parts have served us well over the 25 years, but and I know that Councilor Rist had explained everything very well. He did mention the word redundancy. The redundancy that he was talking about was redundancy within the well, that particular well site. We have multiple well sites throughout the city. So there is redundancy in the system. The system is vibrant and strong, but it's good to have all the pieces working. So just wanted those who may be tuning in without knowing that to not to fear. We have great water in the city of Easthampton, and plenty of it with plenty of redundancy.
Great point, Councilor Kwasinski. All right, no further comments. Any further comments from the public? No. Councilor.
I already made the motion, Madam.
Oh, you're right. All right, Barbara.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zarrett.
Yes.
Peg Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Erica Flood.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
Okay, now we move on to the budget. The way we're going to do this is I'm going to introduce the budget, and then each section will be introduced one at a time. Public comment will be allowed for each section as we do it. I will ask our Finance Committee members also to make comment before I seek comments from the full council and from the public. Department heads, you're here to be ready to answer questions if councilors have them. So I'll begin. The total budget, and we did approve amending the budget last evening because there were some changes in the budget, mostly reductions. What the City Council Finance Committee does, we go through line by line and we do find errors. We find there were unknowns at the time, minor errors, formulas that had to be redone. There were some increases requested by the mayor for some of those unknowns that we found, but a lot of reductions led to less money than we originally requested. The new budget line is $45,900,466.29. This revenue, also I want to thank our auditor, Hadel Patel, and our city treasurer, Jen Gallant, for all the hard work they did in getting these numbers together. Our revenue estimates are estimates, and we are required to have a balanced budget, so the city residents know this. And the revenues we estimate are usually very conservative. For instance, one of them is new growth. What is new growth? New growth is we have new homes being constructed or new renovations in town, and that new growth adds to the tax base. And that new growth is estimated very low at $100,000, which is very low. But that guarantees that we're not overestimating revenue and then falling short at the end of the fiscal year. Any excess revenue becomes free cash in the following year. So the revenue that we will bring in, and the sources are varied. We have Cherry Sheet, which is state aid. We have Chapter 70 school aid. There's a lot of revenue that comes from different areas. But we're very happy that our revenue seems to be fairly, our revenue for next year is conservative based on what we've brought in this year, and our revenue this year seems to be in good shape. In the budget, this is the mayor's budget, which we are approving. We do not have the ability to increase the budget, which is why when the mayor asked for the council at the finance committee level to increase the budget, she had to make that request. We do have the ability to reduce the budget, so there are some reductions which you will approve this evening, and they will be explained as we go along. There are dollars this year. It covers a number of different departments, and I'm going to read them off so that the residents know this. It covers the city council's budget, the mayor's budget, the licensing board's budget, the auditor, the central purchasing budget, the assessor's budget, the treasurer's budget, our information technology budget, tax collector budget, our city attorney budget, our human resources budget, our city clerk's budget, the elections we hold, planning department, and building operations. And that's a total of $1,953,000. The city attorney was brought back to $50,000. Technology, we are going to expect new technology and software there. Cloud-based security is being added, and I recommend this to our schools and everywhere. Given the recent ransomware attacks, I'm very happy personally to see that this is going to happen. We need to make our data secure, and don't think that because we're a small city that we are immune to hacking and ransomware. And I hate to see that because that means money we don't get to use. That's about it. There's nothing remarkable in here. The budget itself covers all of our a lot of department heads. So I'm going to ask my fellow finance committee members, do you have anything to add on general government?
I do not know.
Councilor Gomez does not. Do councilors have any questions? And the department heads, most of them are here if you do have to ask any questions of department heads.
Not seeing any. Anyone from the public have any questions on the general government budget? Not seeing any, Councilor Rist.
Then I will make a motion I move that the city vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,953,507.59 for the various departments listed under Section 1, General Government, and that the amounts listed in the mayor's printed report as amended be considered specific appropriations, with the following amounts to be transferred as recommended by the Mayor and Finance Committee. Water and Sewer Enterprise, $172,361.28. Parking Fund, $2,500.
Motion and a second. That was JP, Barb. Motion and a second to approve the general government section of the budget. Any further discussion? Barbara.
Dan Rist,
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild,
Aye.
Owen Zaret,
Yes.
Peg Coniff,
Aye.
Salem Derby,
Aye.
Erica Flood,
Aye.
Omar Gomez,
Aye.
JP Kaczynski,
Yes.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
The next section is public safety. This covers the police department, crossing guards, our detention needs, dispatch, the fire department, ambulance, inspection services such as building inspection, and animal control. The budget is down a little bit from last year, and the budgets for all of these departments have decreased over the years. The total is $5,636,545. There has been a reduction in overtime. The fire had a reduction in ambulance. It is generally a budget that is tight, very tight. That's about all I have. It was approved 3-0 by the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee members have anything to say?
No, I will point out, Dan, you had mentioned that the budget itself has gone down from last year. It actually went up slightly overall. Individual areas like the police and some of the sections under fire and ambulance may have gone down a little bit, but overall it's up about 1.8%.
Yes, I forgot. And some of that is due to contractual obligations and things like that cause those increases, step increases, et cetera, for some of them.
Correct. Councilor Gomez, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I just want to make a comment about the budget, the public safety budget, and I just want to say the yes is increased a little bit because that. But as a chairman of the public safety, I just want to tell everybody that with this money that we probably is going to approve tonight, our city is going to be safe. We are paying our dues, we're going to pay our bills, and we're going to pay everything. So I'm happy that our city is going to keep safe with this new budget.
Any questions from councilors?
Don't see any. Any comments from the public? Okay, seeing none.
Okay, let me get to the, I'm sorry, I got to find the motions. They're here someplace. Here we go. I make a motion for Section 2, Public Safety. I move that the city vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,636,545.39 for the various departments listed under Section 2, Public Safety, and that the amounts listed in the mayor's printed report, unless amended, be considered specific appropriations as recommended by the Mayor and Finance Committee.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the public safety portion of the FY22 budget. Any further discussion?
I have one comment.
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Madam President, I just wanted to compliment our police department because I have noted over many, many years that in all of our government, we've tried to increase diversity. And I am thrilled to see that we have 2 new African-American officers, a new Hispanic officer, making 2 in the department. We have another woman being starting, I think, in July, making a total of 5 women in the department. This kind of diversity is very welcome, and I just wanted to make that comment. I'm happy about that.
Councilor Rothschild.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Just so you know, I'm not feeling well. That's why my camera's off. I just wanted to make a comment that the work that we've been talking about in the mayor's pledge group and in the city about, addressing some of the institutional racism and increased transparency in the police. These are all still important to me. I know they're important to other counselors, and I don't think the approach of just slashing budgets is useful. That might have been done in neighboring towns. I support the budget of the police and continuing the public safety work that they do. And some of the things that we might be calling for actually might call for increased funding in terms of staff to do data reporting, to increase transparency. These things need additional resources. So I just want to say that I support this budget, and I also support the increased dialogue with the police and the community. And that's all. I'm not feeling well, so that's about as articulate as I can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rothschild. Anyone else? Okay, we had a motion, right, Dan?
A motion and second on the floor.
Okay. Barbara?
Lindsay Rothschild,
Aye.
Owen Zaret,
Yes.
Peg Coniff,
Aye.
Salem Derby,
Aye.
Erica Flood,
Aye.
Laura Gomez,
Aye.
JP Kaczynski,
Aye.
Tom Peak,
Aye.
Dan Rust.
Aye.
Motion passes.
The next section of the budget is the education budget. It's $17,097,692. The Finance Committee, of course, supported this. So the public is aware, this represents 37% of the total budget of the city, but our kids deserve it. And just so the public is also aware, the total really for our support for schools is close to $20,596,000, because you have to add in that the city pays all the benefits for all the teachers and staff, et cetera. I know that Allison is here if she wants to make comment, but we're very happy, and I know there was a 2.5% cut in the budget from this year to last, but the city does support the schools as much as we can, as far as I see. I'd certainly love to increase that money, but 37% of the budget is a big chunk. We did build a new school, so we're not necessarily, because of that decrease, that doesn't, I don't want to send a signal that the mayor, well, at least that this counselor certainly supports the schools. I don't know if you want to make a comment, Allison, before we move on to the city councilors.
No, I would just say, just thank you for, I'll take any questions you have tonight, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. It's been a very challenging year, and we've had a lot of ups and downs this year, as many departments have had, but we've made it through. Today was our last day of school, so the school year has officially ended, and we're thrilled about that. So we're looking forward to beginning another school year in September after some rest and relaxation this summer. So if anyone has any questions, I'm here, and Dale is here as well.
Okay. Anyone from the council? Wow. Anyone from the public? Okay. Councilor Risk?
Okay, I'll make another motion for Section 3 schools. I move that the city vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $17,097,692.63 for the various departments listed under Section 3 schools, and the amounts listed in the mayor's printed report, unless amended, be considered specific appropriation as recommended by the mayor and the Finance Committee.
Second.
Motion is second to approve Section 3 schools in the FY22 budget. Any further discussion? Barbara.
Owen
I'm
Zaret.
sorry, Councilor Gomez.
Yes, I'm sorry. I just want to do a disclosure. Like, I don't know if everybody knows, but my wife worked at the school department, and I called the ethics commission, and they recommend me not to be part of the discussion, but they say that I'm allowed to vote. So I just want to say that I called the ethics commission about my wife, and they told me that I'm allowed to vote tonight.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Gomez. Barbara?
Owen Zaret,
Yes.
Peg Coniff,
Aye.
Salem Derby,
Aye.
Erica Flood,
Aye.
Omar Gomez,
Aye.
JP Kaczynski,
Aye.
Tom Peak,
Aye.
Dan Rist,
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Motion passes. Councilor Rist?
Okay, Section 4, Public Works. There was a minor increase of $3,750 to bring snow and ice to FY21 amounts for them as per Mass General Law. And that increase was approved by the Finance Committee as recommended by the mayor. The total budget is therefore $1,872,976.22. This budget is, I just want to go through some of the departments under Public Works. There's administration, there's the fuel that fuels all of the city vehicles. There's engineering, there's highway, snow emergency account. The street lights are under this account. Motor repair, repairs for vehicles, all our vehicles, I believe, I'm pretty sure of that. Traffic, recycling and hazardous waste. Our trash issue, we have to pick up the trash, we have to pay for it. Landfill maintenance. Our cemeteries, Brookside and Main Street, are also under the Department of Public Works, and the tree warden is under the Department of Public Works. It is enormous budget. It is an enormous task for our Public Works, and I want to compliment Greg and his entire team. As you saw tonight, we have an infrastructure problem, everybody, and it's going to come at us pretty hard. So I just want us to be prepared, and I think we have a great team, and Greg and his team ready to tell us what we need to do. He's keeping an eye on things like well pumps. So let's just pray that we can get through this without losing something that requires millions of dollars to repair. Anyway, that's just a comment. Any comments from the councilors? A question?
No, but Greg, and I hate to do this to you, but can you just, for the public, motor repair, I think it's motor repair went up a bit. And can you just speak to, I'm assuming that is similar to the thing we just voted on for the appropriation for the well pump, but can you just speak to why and what motor repair was and why it went up so much?
We had a retirement in motor repair about 2 years ago, and that position went unfilled in last year's budget. And, you know, with 100 vehicles down there, we really need another set of hands to help Dennis out. He if I could commend him for a second, he did an excellent job getting, you know, keeping everything running through the pandemic by himself. But we were able to hire someone for that job that's actually starting very soon. And we really need another mechanic down there with a fleet the size of ours.
Okay. Yeah, it was just a big increase, and I thought it was worthy of a comment. So thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out, Madam President. I forgot. Anything else from anybody?
Anything from the councilors? Anything from the public? Okay.
I'll make a motion then, Madam President. Section 4, Public Works. I move that the city vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,872,976.22 for the various departments listed under Section 4, Public Works, and that the amounts listed in the mayor's printed report as amended be considered specific appropriations, with the following amounts to be transferred as recommended by the Mayor and Finance Committee. Water and Sewer Enterprise, $441,057.07. Sale of lots, $2,500.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Section 4 Public Works in the FY22 budget. Any further discussion? Barbara.
Ed Coniff.
Yes.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Erica Flood.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Yes.
Motion passes. Councilor Rist.
The next section is Human Services. This deals with our Health Department, Council on Aging, and our Veterans Department. And obviously, I want to compliment our entire Health Department for the work they've done this past year and a half. I don't know how many months it's been for COVID-19 and our pandemic support. And our Council on Aging, especially, work that the Council on Aging has done to help our seniors get through this. It's particularly difficult for them. And I want to compliment the senior services that we've been doing. And I'm forgetting. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought because I've been in the sun too long. Anyway, I just want to compliment all that. And it's a great department, a great team we have under Veterans, Council on Aging, and our Health Department.
I just want to
Finance Committee members can help me out.
Yeah, no, I was just going to echo your thoughts, and most notably our Board of Health and our public health folks who have done an amazing job of keeping us all healthy. I think, you know, a lot of times public health is invisible because if nothing's going on, clearly they're doing their job because they're kind of taking care of everything. So I have the utmost respect for folks in the public health arena. So great job. So thank you.
Any other conflicts?
Anyone from the public? Okay.
Lindsay, that's a thumb up. It's not a hand raised, right?
Yep, just thumb up.
Thank you. I move that we approve Section 5 Human Services. I move that the city vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $653,320.06 for the various departments listed under Section 5 Human Services, and the amounts listed in the mayor's printed report, unless amended, be considered specific appropriations as recommended by the mayor and the Finance Committee.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Section 5 Human Services in the FY 2022 budget. Any further conversation? Barbara.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Erica Flood.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
John Peak.
Aye.
Ian Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zarrett.
Yes.
And Peg Coniff.
Aye. Motion passes.
Our next section is Culture and Recreation. This did have an increase due to a recalculation of the state mandated formula for support of the library. So it went from 607,000 up to 609,000. And that was asked for by the mayor and approved by the Finance Committee. This section approves the Park and Rec Department as well as our library. And the Park and Rec Department is up to full steam now, and I'm happy to see that. We're going to be able to service our kids in our city this summer, at least as much as we can. I have nothing else on that. If my fellow councilors on the Finance Committee want to add anything.
Anyone? Okay. Anyone from the public?
Owen has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councilor Sarah.
Thank you. Just a quick statement that as Councilor Rothschild and President Coniff know, just in some conversations with the library and just in general too, seeing how historically valuable and more valuable our parks and outdoor recreation offerings are becoming. These are areas where we always have to look to find as much funding as possible. And I know that it's difficult because when you raise or increase funding in one place, you have to take it from another. And all of our departments are hurting, but I'm glad we can give whatever we can to these departments because certainly the library, but definitely our Parks and Rec is one of the big attractions of the city, both for residents and visitors. And we keep asking for more services from Parks and Rec, and the reality is that we just don't have the funding to be able to offer it. And so I'm glad we can give what we can give, and just wanted to give some recognition to these often overlooked departments.
Anyone else? Anyone from the public? Okay.
I move that the city vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $609,237.36 for the various departments listed under Section 6, Culture and Recreation, and the amounts listed in the mayor's printed report, if amended, be considered specific appropriations as recommended by the mayor and the finance committee.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Section 6, Cultural and Recreation of the FY 2022 budget. Any discussion? Barbara?
Erica Flood,
Aye.
Omar Gomez,
Aye.
JP Kaczynski,
Yes.
Tom Peak,
Aye.
Dan Rist,
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild,
Aye.
Owen Zaret,
Yes.
Peg Coniff,
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Our next section is debt and interest, and I'm happy to report that we don't have to pay as much in our debt and interest as we thought we would. I'm going to ask our treasurer to once again try to explain what the decrease in the subsidy amount means, because this went down $30-some thousand from the original request, but it is good. And also I want to comment, and I compliment the mayor, the tax rate stabilization money that was $100,000 that's in this is funding that the mayor has placed from free cash into that account every year. Anytime we are able to add extra money to this account, it reduces the amount that we have to pay for our financing of these things, especially the big school bond. So Jen, can you explain that maybe as best you can, the reason for the decrease on the debt and interest?
Sure. Well, the decreases are surrounding debt payment to the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust or bonds related to that. And essentially what it is that they want us to obviously pay close attention to our drinking water, make sure that it's, up to the standards it needs to be. So what they do is when there are projects related to water, there's allowance of a subsidy, which just means that there's both a gross payment, there's an amount that's subsidized by the state, and then the remainder is what we pay as our payment. And the initial budget that was presented had the gross payment in it. So this revised number is the net payment, not including the subsidy, because that's paid by the state.
We always like paying less. And I want to point out that because our finance team is really looking at our bonding and our financing, this is considerably less payment than last year. I think it's a 21, correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, a 21% reduction in debt payments from 6.8 million to 5.3 million. That's an old note, but I think that's close. So they're working hard to, we have a lot of debt with the 2 schools we've built, and et cetera. So they're working hard to try to refinance and relook at all this debt, and I really appreciate it.
It's down 22% since last year.
Well, let's make sure it's right. 22 is better than 21. Anybody from the council?
Anyone from the public? Nope. Councilor Rist.
I move that the city vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,329,346.68 for the various departments listed under Section 7, Debt and Interest, and that the amounts listed in the mayor's printed report as amended be considered specific appropriations, with the following amounts to be transferred or raised as recommended by the mayor and finance committee. Water and sewer enterprise, $397,996.68. Debt exclusion taxation to be reduced by reserves for amortization for the high school, $3,310. Debt exclusion taxation to be reduced by reserves from bond premium for the new K-8 school, $1,146.72. And tax rate stabilization, $100,000.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Section 7, Debt and Interest of the FY 2022 budget. Any further discussion? Barbara.
Peg Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Erica Flood.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
And Owen Zaret.
Yes.
Motion passes. Councilor Rist, you're in the home stretch.
Thank you. We're on to unclassified. This section of the budget deals with employee benefits. I am absolutely ecstatic to report that healthcare premiums under 32B have not increased again. Where all of us are probably paying increases in our healthcare, we're doing something right there with the trust, and that keeps that cost down. Employee benefits, as you can see, is $9,435,000. It's a large amount of money. It pays all the benefits for every employee in the town, including teachers, etc. There was a change. There was a reduction in the EHA portion of our PAIR Act, which is our retirement appropriation. So that was reduced. So again, I'm very happy with the way our insurance has been, our healthcare insurance has been managed. And the fact that we don't have to increase it is remarkable to me, but whatever we're doing, let's keep doing it. Maybe it's not putting in too many claims.
Maybe. I don't have any comments, Councilor Gomez. Any other counselor? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, Councilor Rist.
I move that the city vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,435,370.18 for the various departments listed under Section 8 Employee Benefits, and that the amounts listed in the mayor's printed report as amended be considered specific appropriations, with the following amounts to be transferred as recommended by the Mayor and Finance Committee. Water and Sewer Enterprise, $670,443.27.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Section 8, unclassified employee benefits for the FY 2022 budget. Any further discussion? Barbara.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Erica Flood.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Yes.
Peg Coniff.
Aye. Motion passes.
The next section is community preservation. As the chairman of that committee, I can tell you that we always budget a fairly conservative revenue, and then we use that same amount. Our revenue comes in, let me say, from 3% surtax on our property, less $100,000, plus a match, which is now up to 30% from the state. That revenue last year was over $800,000, but we are not going to count on that because the state has fluctuated its match over years. Now, unlike the other departments, we don't, in the community preservation area, set up a budget for expenses except for administration. Our budget is, our expenses are basically the projects that are brought before us. When you see a CPA appropriation before you, councilors, that's a project that's been brought before us, and that's when the money is spent. So there's not a line item of expenses except for administration that we can give. We must budget 10% to open space, historic preservation, and affordable housing. And we have always budgeted for the last 5 years, $250,000 per year to the Community Preservation Committee's desire to see the second floor city space project move forward. That puts us $1 million in that account. And that proves that we can pay the future bond for that project. That project will be a godsend for this city, and the Community Preservation Committee wants to keep that going. So every year we put $250,000 there. And I have to say that that amount put in every year has not prevented any project from moving forward. In other words, it doesn't hurt our projects, other projects, because we're saving for that hopefully soon to happen major project for the city. Anyway, if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them as I am on the committee.
Anyone? Any counselor? Anyone from the public? Okay, Councilor Rist.
I move that city vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $562,500 for the various departments listed under Section 9, Community Preservation, and the amounts listed in the mayor's printed report, unless amended, be considered specific appropriation, with a total amount to be raised and appropriated from the Community Preservation Fund as recommended by the Mayor and Finance Committee.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Section 9, Community Preservation of the FY 2022 budget. Any further discussion? Barbara.
Erica Flood.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Yes.
Owen Zaret.
Yes.
Peg Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Motion passes.
The last section is enterprise. This is the sewer and water business of our city. Why I say business and why it's called enterprise, so the residents know, is it's supported by water and sewer fees, and it directly deals with the operation of our water, sewer, wastewater, I'm sorry, long night, water and sewer work that we have to do. They do a great job, but as you can see, and when we get, this is only the operational budget. This doesn't include capital projects like what we had to appropriate tonight. This funds the water system, the wastewater, and the wastewater treatment plant. So that's what it does. Sorry.
No worries. Any comments or questions from the other counselors? Any comments from the public? Okay, Councilor Riss.
I move that the city vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,749,970.18 for the various departments listed under Section 10 Enterprise, and the amounts listed in the mayor's printed report, unless amended, be considered specific appropriations, with the following amounts to be transferred as recommended by the Mayor and Finance Committee. Water and sewer enterprise, $2,749,970.18.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Section 10 Enterprise of the FY 2022 budget. Any further discussion? Barbara.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Yes.
Peg Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Erica Flood.
Aye.
So that concludes the council having to listen to me for the rest of the evening, except when I'll say yes to all the other public hearings. I thank you. And I want to do one last shout out to our finance team, Jen Gallant and Heda Patel. Hale especially has come on late, and she worked very hard to get the enterprise chargebacks and all that working and make sure that the numbers were correct. I want to thank her and Jen for all that hard work. We have a budget. Everybody will get paid July 1st, and I thank the council.
Councilor Kwasinski.
Madam President, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank and congratulate all the public employees of every single department in the city during this very difficult time, which began, I think our last meeting was in March, where we met together at the municipal building. So everyone has done a phenomenal job. My heart goes out to you, all of you, and to the citizens of Easthampton. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'll just pile on a little bit. I want to thank Councilor Rist. His job in getting this budget correct and accurate and out so that we can vote on it tonight was also pretty Herculean. There was a lot of moving parts. It's more than just him reading these motions. He does a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that everything adds up, and that if he has questions, that's why we had so many meetings, so that we could make sure that we got this right. And the more I saw this, the more in awe I was of all the moving pieces, and you did a great job, Councilor Rist, and I just want to thank you for your guidance.
Council in the city is certainly welcome.
All right. Moving on to the zoning ordinance amendment. The first one up is Councilor Zaret and cannabis delivery.
Thank you, President Coniff. Just to give some background, at the end of November 2020, the CCC approved, I believe, essentially 2 new license types That is a marijuana delivery operator, which allows delivery of warehoused cannabis to purchasers, and also began at least discussion of social consumption licenses, although that's still in the works for a variety of reasons and involves a pilot program and some legislative fixes. So prior to that, there was already approval of what's called courier licenses, and I'll be getting into explaining this a little bit more. And we, as a ordinance committee under the chairmanship of Councilor Derby and working with Councilor Peak, introduced and discussed opting in or establishing time, place, and manner for what's called marijuana delivery operators and couriers. If it's possible, President Conniff, I do have...
Do you need to present?
Yeah, I have something that might make this a little bit more digestible for people, if that's possible.
Let me make you a co-host. There you go.
Thank you. Let me see if I can get this to work properly. Okay, hold on.
Yep, we see it.
Okay, do you see it as a slideshow now?
Yep.
Okay, great, thank you. So what we're talking about is adding in these two license types to our current adult use cannabis ordinance, which already has really fantastic and robust framework. So these were pretty easy to kind of slide in to the existing language between deliberation through the ordinance committee and then joint public hearings with the planning department. And just as a note too, it was unanimously approved. The language that you'll see was unanimously approved by the recommended by the planning department, the planning board, and then 3-0 by ordinance committee to recommend. So let's talk a little bit about these delivery licenses. So we have basically really the main one, which is the marijuana delivery operator, and that is the state language. They didn't use the word cannabis, but marijuana and cannabis can be used interchangeably in our current language, as you'll see in the definitions, and then marijuana couriers. So let's get into the operator first. So this is the CMR, this is 935 CMR section 500, the state definition. Marijuana delivery operator or delivery operator means an entity licensed to purchase at wholesale and warehouse finished marijuana products. I won't read the whole thing, but this is the language that we're dealing with from the 935 CMR that defines what this is. So what is this? So a marijuana delivery operator purchases and stores warehoused wholesale marijuana, cannabis, or cannabis products in a warehouse and takes orders through a third-party ordering system and delivers it to consumers. Kind of straightforward. It's important here to note that there is not a storefront involved with this license. It is purely warehousing and delivery. You can't actually go to a retail space. You place orders through the third-party ordering system is also a mechanism by the state to make sure that none of these businesses actually have a stake or any sort of involvement in the way that this ordering works. It has to be separate from the business itself. Again, not considered retail. And that's reflected in our language as well. Think Amazon. So you go online, you place an order, the entity retrieves it from their warehouse, puts it into a delivery vehicle, and there's lots of secure stipulations around that involving body cameras, and 2 people need to be in the vehicle, lock boxes, et cetera. And that, I don't want to get into the weeds with that, but our job here was to just establish local time, place, and manner and not really get into what the state regulations are, which are really robust. So that's marijuana delivery operator. Marijuana courier this is also a license that had previously existed. And basically what this is an independent business who can accept an order for you to go to an existing retail establishment, pick up the products that you ordered, the cannabis products that you ordered, and deliver it to your house. So they don't maintain any inventory. They're not affiliated with specifically in their existence as a license with any sort of direct access to cannabis products. They need to go and pick it up from you from probably a variety of retail establishments of your choice and bring it to you. So again, delivers marijuana products to the consumer from retail locations. Again, they don't have any sort of their own inventory. As I just said, they do not inventory, warehouse, or store marijuana or cannabis. Again, same thing, third-party ordering system. The licensees don't have any stake or control over the software for ordering. Not a retailer. And so think DoorDash or Grubhub or something like that. Again, third-party ordering, there's this, I can distribute this afterwards, and I apologize it's not in the packet. But the third-party ordering, the third-party technology platforms, again, are a separate platform to take orders from consumers and distribute them to these the delivery operators and couriers. Now, we've talked about equity in the past. We had a previous proposal about equity retail licenses, and due to some fogginess and kind of unclear pathways there, we withdrew that without prejudice. The couriers and the delivery operators, and also soon we'll see with social consumption, these are the only licenses in the state currently that are strictly and exclusively equity-based licenses. So something really important to think about, that as you know, certainly the industry, which is overwhelmed with predominantly white, wealthy people with access to cash, and people of color, as well as people disproportionately affected by the war on drugs, don't have a lot of access for a variety of reasons. This allows, specifically people of color, people who live in areas disproportionately affected by the war on drugs, and also people which includes people with prior marijuana and drug convictions, to have access to the industry. So delivery licenses are limited to businesses controlled or majority owned by economic empowerment, priority applicants, or social equity program participants. This is a period of exclusivity that lasts at least 36 months, which may be extended by the CCC depending. And one of the categories, or some additional categories that you will see in the 935 CMR 500 is to potentially expand this to minority business enterprises, women business enterprises, veteran business enterprises, et cetera. So we're talking really broad equity. We're not just talking the current state definitions for empowerment and equity participants. We're talking potential for really bringing real equity to this industry, which is really in dire need of it because of the nature of how the cannabis industry exists, both statewide and certainly nationwide. So marijuana delivery operators, initially we had proposed 3, and after deliberation between our committee as well as with the planning board, we eliminated any real cap on that. It is still a special permit. We did, for a variety of reasons, because of the nature of the licenses and the individuals applying to them, in order to kind of level the playing field and embrace true spirit of equity, we suggested and had final language that allowed for pre-certification instead of provisional licenses for special permit application. The planner could probably help answer questions about that later on to clarify what exactly that is. These businesses will be zoned in highway business, industrial, and mill industrial areas. And as a nod to a lot of the environmental work that's been going on in the city, and certainly a lot of the trailblazing that Councilor Derby has done in the past, and in the spirit also of our vehicle policy for the city. Fleets larger than 6 vehicles will have to include a certain percentage of hybrid electric, diesel, or electric vehicles. Couriers, these will be allowed by permit for solo operators. So if you want to basically be your own can of DoorDash, you just have to submit a permit. And we decided also that these could be home professions as opposed to pretty much all other licenses within our ordinance. It kind of makes sense if you're just operating a vehicle that goes and picks up products and brings it to people's homes. It's an opportunity for people similar to Lyft or Uber, or like I said, DoorDash. For larger fleets of couriers, this will require plan approval, and then we'll in the highway business, industrial and mill industrial districts, and with the same energy efficiency requirements as delivery operators. Some of the concerns that were brought into the discussion, obviously that we had to update our definitions to reconcile the new licensing types. There weren't really other definitions. Well, the definitions associated with delivery were the third-party ordering system, but there weren't really significant other changes to our definitions. Items specific to delivery that need to be on the special permit application, like size of fleet, we addressed that in language. And issues around company vehicles, if they could be parked overnight at a store or a facility, if they can come home with employees off hours. That's not really, that wasn't really notably addressed. I don't think it really affects anything per se. And then determining what documents are required for pre-certification, that's in the final language. And that's it. So if you want, President Coniff, we could go through the language, and maybe this might be a good place to bring the planner in to kind of go through what the actual changes are in regards to our ordinance, or myself or one of the other members of the ordinance committee could go through that. It's up to you.
Do the counselors need additional information, in which case we can bring in planner back? And I can't see you, so if you do, give me a thumbs up or a hand raised or something. Okay. No. So does anybody have any specific questions given the presentation from Councilor Zaret or what you have read previously on this? Okay, I'll go first. So the difference between a delivery operator and a courier is a delivery operator is housed in Easthampton, but they can get their product from anywhere in the state and put it in their warehouse in Easthampton. Is that correct? Anyone?
I believe so. I mean, I think just like, and the planner could weigh in here, but I believe just like any other marijuana, cannabis business that acquires wholesale products, they can acquire their wholesale products from anywhere. But I don't know if the planner has any comments there.
Is it restricted to Massachusetts, Jeff?
Yes. Yeah. The cannabis would have to come from within Massachusetts, but I think one of the things to think about is that the delivery operator is the warehouse model. So it will be a site in Easthampton that will have a building, and it will have parking spaces for vehicles that will, go out to deliver at points that are like periodic. There would be a delivery of cannabis product that would get stored in the warehouse. And I think the way I've understood it would work is then this operates as its own facility where they would have their own online menu. So that would be where you would go to place an order, or you could probably place an order, and they would fulfill it in this warehouse. Mm-hmm. And then they would put it into a vehicle, and then it would be transported out. And so that's really like the warehouse model, which is different than the courier.
And where does Easthampton, or does Easthampton gain any revenue from having that warehouse in Easthampton?
Right. So my understanding is because we have the facility would be located in Easthampton, and when they fulfill an order, so it's, let's say it's someone in some other town places an order and it's fulfilled by the delivery operator, the warehouse in Easthampton, then the city would be getting the revenue from that sale. And it's
even if they got it from Netta, even if they resourced it in their warehouse from Netta. So Netta is getting revenue from the purchase by the delivery operator, I would guess. And then I, as a consumer, go online and I ask for whatever the thing is that Netta sources. What you're saying that transaction will net Easthampton some revenue?
The transaction between the customer and the delivery operator that's located in Easthampton. Yes, that's my understanding of that. Yep.
And do they have a host community agreement with us, or would they have a host community agreement with us?
Yes, they would. And currently we have a host community agreement executed for one delivery operator, and so that's the structure that's within that one. That's the only one we have for the delivery operator model. But yes, yep.
Okay, I'm not entirely clear yet on the revenue, but so you're saying that, and can I just walk through this really quick? So Netta sells something for $10 to the warehouse people. Okay. I go online and now the warehouse people, maybe because I'm asking for delivery, will sell it to me for $12. Is the revenue for Easthampton based on the $2 delivery fee, or is it based on the $12 sale transaction? Councilor Derby.
So the warehouse is going to be buying their product in a wholesale transaction. It's not a retail transaction, so it's a different animal. So they're buying in bulk. They're buying directly from the source, a wholesaler, and then they sell it as a retailer, which is then where that Massachusetts state tax is going to be.
Thank you, Councilor Derby. That makes perfect sense. Thank you. That was the missing piece. Thank you. Anyone else? Any questions for the ordinance folks? Not seeing any. Okay. Councilor Zaret, you want to make a motion?
Sure.
We need public.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, we do. Public. Anyone from the public? None seen. Thank you, Councilor Derby. Go ahead, Councilor Zaret.
Thank you, President Coniff. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to accept the amended language to Section 10.10, adult use cannabis, reflecting the inclusion of marijuana delivery operators and marijuana couriers.
Second.
Motion is second to accept the amendments to Section 1010, adult use cannabis establishments. Any further discussion? Barbara.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Leon Rist.
Yes. Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild. Is Lindsay gone?
She may have, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
she's
sorry. Owen Zaret.
Yes.
Peg Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Erica Flood.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. Councilor Peak, we have two related to Table 5.1 for housing issues. You want to present for that? Where are you?
Yes, I'm right here. I'd be happy to. Do you have a preference in the order?
Not at all. We're making good time.
Great. Well, I'm going to start with the ADUs then, even though it's the second one, alphabetically, because it's the first one in my slideshow.
Do you need me to make you a co-host?
Yes, please.
Do that? Okay. Did you get it? Okay, good.
Here. Okay. So I'm really excited to be here talking about this because this is something I've been very passionate about, probably to the point of being a little annoying to some people for several years. I have two amendments that have come. They both came out of the language in our housing production plan. Both my presentations will tie back to the housing production plan. They also both went to the planning board and cleared the planning board unanimously and were approved unanimously by the ordinance committee. So the first one is a proposal to amend section 8.5 of our zoning, and it essentially completely overhauls 8.5. Which is our accessory apartments section. So I'm not going to read this verbatim because it's long, but I wanted to sort of show these are quotes from page 41 and 42 of our housing production plan, which we unanimously passed back in January or February, that sort of say that there is a problem that the way that we currently set it up, the special permit process can be intimidating. It has features that may discourage many people from using it. And that most of the existing 8.5 consists of sort of objective standards that could be easily be determined through an as of right site plan review. Special permit should be removed unless the applicant requires some type of waiver. And this is the other thing. It brings up the fact that right now, just to like really quick as I'm going into this, everyone knows what like an accessory apartment is, right?
Yes.
Like an in-law apartment or something like that. Okay. So one of the things that's interesting in ours is it says, the ordinance requires an accessory apartment special permit to expire when the home is sold unless the buyer applies for and receives approval from the Board of Appeals to transfer the permit. So that's the other thing is they recommend that we get rid of that. They also note that our ordinance currently caps accessory apartments at 800 square feet, which the consultant noted to be a little bit low. So what has changed? We essentially rewrote the zoning in its entirety in consultation with the Barrett Planning Group, who were the people that we brought on to do the housing production plan. In the new language, ADUs are allowed by right so long as they meet certain design criteria. ADUs that don't meet those criteria basically go through the process that they currently go through, where they're going to the zoning board of approval for a special permit. One of the big differences is that the grounds for approving or denying a special permit are clarified. They're not terribly clear in the current zoning. And the lapse provisions have been eliminated. So that's the short version. Now I'll get a little bit into the details. So under the new zoning, our standards for by right ADUs, the general standards, it needs to be attached to a single or two family dwelling. It needs to be owner occupied at the time of construction. If you build an ADU attached to your house and then later you need to not occupy for your house for whatever reason, that's not an issue, but we do, for a number of reasons, want people these to be really built primarily in owner-occupied residence, although a landlord could certainly go through the ZBA if they wanted to. One ADU per lot. Again, if somebody wanted more, they could certainly go through the ZBA. They can't be sold or transferred separate from the principal dwelling. There needs to be adequate parking, although in cases where the parking situation would be real trouble and wouldn't be needed. For example, if somebody were building one for a family member who couldn't drive, there would be the option to ask the building commissioner to waive it. And obviously no occupancy until the certificate of occupancy from the building commissioner. I see a question from Councilor Rest.
Sorry, Tom, the word attached has got me a little confused. You don't mean physically attached. An ADU can be on the lot, correct?
It can certainly be physically detached, but
detached. I think that's
physically attached or detached. That's not the issue. It just means like it's on the parcel of a.
It's on the parcel because the word attached says that it has to be part of my house or something. And okay, good. I just wanted to make sure that's clear.
I also see a question from Councilor Flood.
Can I also just clarify? So it has to be owner occupied at the time of construction, but what you're saying is this could be sold to an investor who then does not need to live on premises to, for instance, rent the original unit plus the ADU?
Yeah, and we were worried that if you had a situation where it was going to seriously restrict your ability to move out of your house or sell your house, that could be like a real disincentive for people to actually do these sorts of things. So yes, if you at some later point, your circumstances change, that's still okay, but it does need to be owner occupied at the time that you seek the permit.
So you could build an ADU and then later sell it to an investor, and that investor does not need to live on the premises to rent both of the properties. Is that correct?
Correct. Okay. So let's keep going. So there's really two types of ADUs when we're talking about design standards. As Councilor Riss noted, there are ones that are interior or attached. So that could be a basement apartment or someone building an addition onto their house that's a separate apartment. For something like that, you need a separate entrance. You need safe egress. If it's above the first floor, there needs to be an enclosed staircase on the side of the back of the building. And it needs to comply with the maximum building height, minimum setbacks, and maximum building coverage for a principal structure. So it can't, just those things are already there and you're not exempted from them when you're building these. If the ADU is detached, these would be allowed in existing structures so long as there's no change to the footprint or height. In new structures, they can't exceed 900 square feet. We brought it up a little bit from 800, but still, smaller than your average single family home. And new or expanded ADUs must comply with the same things that I was mentioning in the last time. So just to sort of drive this one point home, because I think it could be a little bit confusing. If you want to build a new one, it needs to be 900 square feet. But if you have a 1,400 square foot garage in your backyard and you want to convert it into an ADU, then you can do that provided you're not making it any bigger.
Excuse me, Tom, I just have a quick question.
Sure.
So what is the rationale then behind new structures not exceeding 900 square feet? If we're okay with 1,000 square foot garage, why couldn't I put in 1,000 square foot garage? What's the,
I think from I don't have necessarily an enormous concern about 1,000 square foot, but what I think the concern is that somebody could build like a really big structure, like a giant McMansion in their backyard and call it an ADU. And so we wanted to have some sort of cap, but so on the size for new construction. But if the thing's already been constructed, then it's not like it's going to, it's already there. Whatever impacts that footprint has are already existing.
Okay. That's a risk as a question.
Just a comment. I think the other thing about this is that this is for by right ADUs. In other words, you go to the building commissioner and you get to do it. You don't have to get a special permit. But if someone wants to build a 1,400 square foot ADU or other structure that doesn't comply with the by right, they still have the ability to do that. For instance, if there's a 1,400 square foot garage if I understand this, that existing structure can only have one unit in it. But if someone wanted to have, by right, they can only have one unit. Am I correct, Tom?
Correct.
But if they wanted to do 2 units in there, because they want to have 2 700 square foot units, they have to go before the ZBA to get that done by special permit.
Yep.
So it doesn't eliminate the possibility. This is just making it easier to build or convert ADUs without having to go a long way through a special permit process, right? Am I
correct? Yeah, and I'll be explaining a little bit of that in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, so setbacks. When we spoke to people who did ADUs, one of the really popular things that people are wanting to do is sort of like backyard cottage type things. And one of the really big things there that jams a lot of people up is rear and side setbacks. So, in particular, rear setbacks. So we made the rear setbacks here a little bit smaller than the rear setbacks for a single family house, which will allow people to potentially put something like this in their backyard, even if their backyard is sort of close to their own like rear setback. So the different, like the nature of the rear setback kind of depends on the zone that you're in, but in general, they're like about half the size of the rear setbacks for a single family home. So with non-conforming dwellings, ADUs are allowed for lawfully pre-existing non-conforming dwellings, so long as the ADU does not increase the non-conforming nature of the existing structure. So if you had a house that the setbacks weren't quite right on, but it's just like it's a known thing, and you wanted to put an ADU in your backyard, but it's like your side setbacks that are the issue, as long as this doesn't make that situation any worse, then it's okay. If you wanted to build one onto the side that you already have a side setback issue, then it's not okay because you're making the non-conforming issue worse. So basically, like the fact that if your house, for whatever reason, has some sort of a non-conforming characteristic to it, that doesn't necessarily disqualify you from going and getting an accessory dwelling, so long as it doesn't make that situation any worse. Okay, so all of that basically just goes through what you have. That's all stuff for the requirements that you need. If you can check off all those boxes, you can just go to the building commissioner and get a building permit and build an ADU. If there are any of those things that you fail to meet, then you will have to receive a special permit through the Zoning Board of Appeals. So if your specific project that you want to do is not exactly in line with that, that's okay. You just need to go to the ZBA. There has been some, I think what we decided to do was sort of add a specific standard for the ZBA. So we allow the ZBA to waive those requirements, any of those requirements by special permit, provided that the board finds that the proposed accessory dwelling unit will be substantially consistent with the purpose of this section, that is to, increase affordable housing and whatnot, and will not have a detrimental impact on the neighborhood. So if you want to do something that doesn't fit the requirements that I have above, the case that you're going to have to make to the ZBA is that what you're proposing does not have it doesn't have a substantial difference. So just to give an example that we were thinking of, say that you wanted to have an ADU that the setback doesn't quite work, but you're abutting like a piece of like state-owned like conservation land that nobody lives in. So like it's not like the setback's going to cause like a noise problem or whatever. Then you can come there and say, well, my neighbors are trees and they don't really care. And the ZBA at that point can, if they agree that it's not a problem, they can grant you a special permit and you'll be on your way. I see
Councilor Rothschild has a question.
Hi, thanks, Tom. I do have a question, and I might have missed it because I'm not completely here, but before there was language about it had to be a certain proportion to the original structure, and there was also language about whether it had to be in the back of the house versus the side of the house. Is that language not there anymore?
That language isn't there anymore. We felt that it would be better to just do like a single size standard, which we have, it's 900 square feet, and just say that's for everyone, rather than saying that like someone with a bigger house can build a bigger ADU. There's some equity issues there for me.
Yeah, good. I appreciate that. And also the fact that like just having been a person that's owned 2 lots with side yards, not backyards, it's nice to know that that's now an option.
You'll still have to obviously meet the side yard setbacks, but it's okay to do something like this.
Councilor Flood?
I apologize if I'm jumping the gun here. I don't know if this is coming later, but I just have questions about property taxes and how are these units taxed in relation to the original unit on the lot?
Sure. Well, I think that we have something in the zoning saying that obviously this would be an improvement on the house that would bring up its assessed value, and that the assessor may end up assessing this as a multifamily structure as a result of this improvement. So I don't know exactly what the assessor's policies will be on that, but we do state in the zoning that that's a possibility. Just as a warning for anyone who's going into this, like, yeah, their property taxes will likely go up. Okay, seeing nothing else.
Hand up, Tom.
Oh, Councilor Kwasinski, go ahead.
Oh.
Thank you. It would seem to me that the more we increase the number of structures available, the more we have accessory dwelling units, the more we lower or make the housing more affordable. Is that correct? The general principle is increase the supply and we lower the prices.
The hope is that certainly adding housing supply will, that's just supply and demand, that will at least slow the growth of housing supply, of housing cost in the city, while also providing some low-cost housing options for individuals who rent them, and potentially a source of income for people who want to put them on their parcels. Sure.
Right, and that income would be available to those of more modest homes and those with larger homes, because as folks move on in life and the older they get, I would think that someone who had a larger home might not be able to afford the home, might not be able to maintain the home, and might not be able to or need that much house, but yet not be able to find a lot to build in Easthampton because land is not quite available. So the more options we can give people, I think the more we're increasing affordability and allowing people to have places to live. The reason I say that is originally when we first passed the original accessory dwelling unit, I had my reservations about the plan and had felt that we needed to keep them relatively small initially. Now my thinking has changed on the subject, and I think we shouldn't put impediments on the size of the units. If someone comes in and they wanted to have a larger unit, they shouldn't be restricted to the 900, I believe. I, for one, would be certainly amenable to a 1,500 square foot limit. That would enable someone who had a larger house, let's say whatever their size of their house was, to downsize to something that would be affordable for them. They could then go ahead and have, let's say, a family member with kids move into the main house, and they could live into something that would be sized well and appropriately for them and still stay in the city and have relatively affordable housing. So I think across the whole spectrum, it would be helpful to have that limit increased to 1,500.
Well, can I get through my presentation before we get into debate on individual amendments? But yeah. I wouldn't fight you if you wanted to do that, for what it's worth. We thought that would be a concern of people would be putting things that are too big in there. It's not a personal hill I'm prepared to die on. Okay, can I move forward? Is there anything?
Please, why don't you do that, Councillor Peak, and then we will field questions when you're all done. Okay, cool. So there are a number of ADUs in the city that were approved prior to this under special permits. Those special permits are due to expire when they sell the house. So this basically does away with that and says that anything that was approved under the prior process is considered approved under here, and the permits will no longer expire upon transfer of title. And that is the end. Okay. Any councilors have any further questions? I think Councilor Flood had your hand up and Councilor Riss. Councilor Flood, did you want to ask a question? Are you still here?
I'll yield to Councilor Riss for the time being.
Okay.
Thank you, Erica. We debated this. I remember being involved in the debate over the square footage. And as I recall, we decided on 900 because we were worried about someone building a huge one. And we also realized that if someone wanted to do a 1,400 or 1,500 square foot ADU, they could go before the ZBA and get that change if they meet the other criteria, because this is by right construction. Now, I wanted to ask if Jeff can bring us back to that discussion, because I'm not opposed to increasing that. In fact, I wanted it to be unlimited, but there were some good reasons. And if Jeff, can you give us some perspective on why we were concerned about, this is the by right 900 square foot limitation?
Yeah, thank you. If that's okay. Yes, I think it's a great discussion. But I think the missing component that we had discussed was keeping the limit at 900 is still that's a very common number for these accessory dwelling units. I think we have to keep in mind that right now we're talking about accessory dwelling units. So this is a second unit that for some intents and purposes is supposed to be smaller and secondary to the main house, right? So the rationale for keeping it at 900, especially for a new structure, is that we are trying to, as a community, we're trying to react quickly to some of the housing pressures that we're feeling. And I think professionally speaking, as your planner, to go up and up over 900, we would really want to be talking about design standards. I think that there would be a number of people who could get one of these in their neighbor's yard, and as you go up in size, it will be more and more dramatic. And we don't have design standards attached to these. And I think that was the compromise that we came up with, was for a new structure, keeping it at 900. I think what Tom just said is really important, that if you do have a larger lot and a larger main house, it's not going to be that difficult to go to the ZBA for the increased size. And that's something that currently doesn't exist today. Like right now, if you're over 800 square feet, there's no opportunity for you to go above it. So it's called like a release valve. It's the opportunity to go bigger. And it's related again, just to our ability to convert an existing structure. I think Councilor Conniff asked this question, but the idea with an existing structure, a barn or a garage, is that it's already there. So you have that built into kind of the character of the neighborhood. So we weren't as concerned about the size of that. It could be converted as long as it's one unit. What we're balancing is the need for these units that would provide like attainable housing to people without making big dramatic changes to the character of a neighborhood. And so that's the 900 square feet, very common. It's a little bit larger than what we allow today, but it allows us to kind of keep this conversation going and without dramatic changes to the character of the neighborhood. So I would try to urge the council to keep it as is. If the way this would work is that if we see a lot of people who get really stuck on needing bigger ones, then maybe we embark on some design standard discussions, but that would take a while. And, we wanted to kind of keep this process going. And there's a real opportunity right now. I think something Councilor Kwasinski, I'm just going to pile it all on right now. Councilor Kwasinski asked about the cost. And one of the hopeful benefits that we see is that by allowing the second unit to get constructed on an existing lot, we're saving people the cost of a new lot. So the money that would be spent on buying the lot can actually be spent to almost fund the construction of the unit. And so, that's something that we think would offset some of the costs and make housing, these variety of housing a little bit more attainable for people. So thank you for letting me say that stuff.
Thank you. That helps.
Any other comments from any other counselor?
Councilor Flood's hand is up again.
Say that. I'm sorry, what?
If I could, Madam
Yeah,
President.
I'm going to let Councilor Flood, I'm going to let you go next.
Thank you.
You're losing.
A couple thoughts here. I'm trying to lower my hand. I do want to say that I am in support of the cap on the new builds remaining at 900. I do remember being part of the conversation. Where I pointed out, once you get into like 1,200 square feet, you're basically looking at a ranch being dropped into your backyard. And if you're a neighbor, that can be a little unsettling. So on the new construction, I very much support the cap on the 900 by right. And I guess, what I'm really concerned with is this discussion we keep having about affordability. So I have to voice it. I know that we need to add housing stock. That is a need. But I think when we just throw the word affordability out there, what I'm having a problem with is if you're having trouble affording your housing in Easthampton right now, and you just happen to have a big yard, you do not have the resources to build one of these units. So we're opening this door to people who have resources, who are then going to rent these units and are going to be looking for a return on investment. So we're not looking at making affordable housing for people who really need it the most. I just want us to be clear what we're approving and why we're approving it. I do believe this will alleviate some of the pressures on the demand, but it's not for the capital A affordable housing we really need. So as one of my colleagues has pointed out in other discussions along the way, this is one tool in the toolbox, but this is not addressing where our greatest need is. Those elderly senior citizens who are aging out of their homes and living on fixed incomes and facing increased property values do not have the resources to build these units. I just can't let this discussion go by without pointing that out. I do support it with some limitations, but I want us to be clear on who we're serving. We're not serving the people who need it the most with these. But I want to thank all of my colleagues who've been working on this issue. I think it's important, and I think it's one aspect of this big puzzle, but I don't want us to be fooling ourselves in thinking that we're going to be helping people who are struggling. This is going to be market rate housing. And I would like to hear about what your opinion on affordability is, because I don't see these units going for, maybe like even $700 a month. Our rates are crazy in the city right now. And for people who are going to build these and look for a return on investment, they're just not going to be serving people who need it the most. Thank you.
Mayor, I saw your hand. And then Councilor Zarrett.
Yes, I definitely hear you, Councilor Flood. I would also point out on these units as far as income or putting them, on. So they add income, they increase value to an extent we're not sure on, but they also are not, as far as financing, they are not treated the same way as multifamily. I am very supportive of this because it opens a small window for maybe, 10 more units in Easthampton, and given the trouble we are having with capital A affordable housing and attracting builders, I am open to anything, and to get it just some units, add units to housing. But I also just want to let you know, Councilor Flood, we are not giving up the search for an affordable housing partner, and well recognize that this is housing affordability for, I would say, people with average median income of 80% or up. So I just wanted to add that comment.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor Zarek.
So I had a bullet list of things I wanted to say, and Councilor Flood and the mayor literally just covered them. I really appreciate being part of the discussion. I think it was very important that we brought this, well, I shouldn't say we, that Councilor Peak brought this forward and brought it forward in a very timely manner. I really have to applaud you. I really have to applaud you for looking at the housing production plan and really taking action. As we spoke about during that meeting, political will was one of the biggest boundaries, and it was good to see you using your political will and your position on the council to move forward really aggressively on this. So thank you. But yeah, so these are pieces that add to our housing stock. We do have to really be cognizant about kind of who will be able to build these, who will be able to afford them. I'm not raining on your parade because I think this work is fantastic and I appreciate you for doing it. It's a piece of a bigger puzzle, and we need to now start pulling together those other pieces, which include those big A affordability issues and figuring out how to make that happen. But thank you very much, Councilor Peak, because I think this is a critical piece of the housing issue in Easthampton.
Any other comments from councilors? Any comments from the public?
Lindsay has her hand up.
Oh my goodness. Okay, go ahead, Councilor Ross. Sorry, it's not showing up. Go ahead.
No problem. Yeah, thank you, Councilor Flood, for your comments. I completely agree. But I also think this will provide good options for seniors, because there's people who need affordability that aren't capital A that are still squeezed. And I was thinking that there might be some room for collaboration with the PVVC, the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, or local banks to help seniors finance these so that they can age in place on their own property and have an income from their original property. I think that's a really neat place to look for collaboration in the community to help seniors do that. So just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Councilor Rothschild. I see. Oh, we'll get to you, Jackie. Councilor Peak.
Yeah, and just to respond to a lot of that, like this, obviously, you're right. These things cost like $100,000 to build. So it's not something like, most people, it's not something that everyone's going to be able to do. It's also something that we might be able someday to figure out some financial instruments to actually make it more accessible to some people. But there's no point in even talking about those financial instruments if everyone that wants to do it is going to have to go through a months-long process that's going to cost them money up front to even ask to do something. And a lot of their potential designs just aren't going to fly to begin with. Like, there's no point talking about where we could get money to help people to actually put more of these on the lots of people who maybe don't have that sort of cash just sitting in the bank until we allow it, right? So, it obviously is not going to do, everything. But I have heard from people who say that, maybe they're not like on a completely fixed income, or maybe they are, but it's just sort of nice fixed income. But they say, I have a 4-bedroom home in Easthampton, and I'd be interested in potentially building an ADU, living in it, and renting that out to a family, right? So that's a situation where you actually have a potential to put a rental unit on the market that doesn't exist. I mean, if you look right now out there, there's a lot of people who just cannot find housing at all, period. And that's going to create a bidding war, and and that has been driving up prices. So this is something that what I hope it'll do is, in a very modest way, contribute to helping a few people through that problem, contribute to helping a few people find or develop a housing unit for a relative who otherwise would not be able to find housing in Easthampton. Stuff like that. Trust me, this housing production plan is very big and there's a lot of work to be done. And I would like eventually, in theory, to pass all the parts of it. But this seemed like an easy first step to get that ball rolling. And so I put it up first. And it's not the end of a conversation, but it was a good way to sort of test the process and see where my colleagues and the folks on the planning board were on these conversations. And so there's plenty more stuff to come, including another thing about affordable housing in a few minutes, whether this passes or not.
Councilor Rothschild, is your hand still up or did you have another question?
It's still up.
Okay. All right. Now we will take comment from the public. And the first hand I saw was Jackie Brousseau-Pereira. Are you commenting as a member of the Affordable and Fair Housing?
I am.
Or it's just you?
As a matter of fact. So Jackie Brousseau-Pereira, 39 Garfield Ave, and also a member of the Easthampton Fair and Affordable Housing Partnership. And I want to just say that, no, this amendment isn't going to solve all the housing problems that we have. We need to build a lot of housing. I do see this as a small number of dwellings that could be built. I hear Councillor Flood's concerns, but I also feel like so anecdotally, the folks that I've heard from who want to do these kinds of things are people who say, I want to move my elderly mom here to live with me, and I can build this in my backyard. So that's, keeping someone in their home for a long time. I think that's a good thing. I think not all of these will be necessarily rental units that are put on there. I'm sure that some of them will be. At any rate, I think fewer barriers to creating more housing in our town, which is really, really stretched right now in terms of housing. Like Tom said, it's kind of low-hanging fruit at this point. This is one thing that we can absolutely do and get done that can create, like Councillor Peak said, maybe only 10 more units, but that's still 10 more units. And I don't think that they're all going to be speculative. I think that this is going to be, for some people, maybe not affordable in terms of them counting on our subsidized housing inventory, but I think some of them will be more affordable to live in than, trying to buy one's own home or things like that. The other thing I just wanted to add, because I know the conversation around the size, I live in a 1,200 square foot house and with my husband, several pets and 2 children. And I can't imagine dropping another house the size of my house into my backyard. So I totally get it about the 900 square feet. And I think what we've learned from our city, the city next door, is that when these kinds of buildings were going into neighborhoods in the Bay State neighborhood in Northampton, that there were lots of very disgruntled neighbors there. So we've had a conversation on the housing partnership about this amendment, and we all really felt like it was a great first step towards some of the things in the housing production plan, a great first step in getting some more housing in town with fewer barriers to housing. So that's my piece.
Thanks, Jackie. Anyone else from the public would like to make a comment? Yes, Brad Riley.
Hey, everybody. So Brad Riley, 15 Hudson Street, also on the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership. Admittedly, there's a lot of zoning and businessy type things that I don't really understand about this. So I wanted to thank the folks who did the hard work. It makes being a housing advocate a lot easier in this community. Particularly the things that I've been concerned about is when we start looking at future affordable housing developments, is that there's always a call from community members to do more for senior citizen housing. And I think that's true for Easthampton as well. the issue I find that in creating affordable housing specifically for senior citizens is that it also has a disparate impact on other people who aren't senior citizens. So even if we can get, 5 or 6 accessory dwelling units that are for senior housing, that just frees up more space in our future projects to have other people who might otherwise be cut out of affordable housing. So, it is just a small piece, but it's a piece nonetheless. And, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that's been working on this. I sat in on a couple of meetings. You're all really brilliant, and thank you for doing the work.
Thanks, Brad. Anyone else from the public? I'm not seeing any. Tom, would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I will make a motion to amend section 8.5 of our zoning.
Second.
Motion second to amend section 8.5 to allow accessory dwelling apartments by right. Any further discussion? Councilor Zaret and then Councilor Kwasinski. You're on mute, Councilor Zaret.
I don't want my colleague to get me wrong. I think this is fantastic. And I just want to reiterate how impressed I am and how grateful I am that this was brought forward so quickly in the wake of the housing production plan. So it's good. We just need to look big picture. And I have ultimate faith in both Councilor Peak as well as the council in general and pulling these other pieces in. And so thank you. And looking forward to kind of seeing how our city develops with these new regulations. So thanks, Tom.
Councilor Barb, is this pertinent to this discussion or?
Well, it reflects back to the motion that Tom made.
Oh, okay. Because we're getting far afield, or?
Well, I wonder if you could, Tom, if you could just read what's on the agenda, because it does reference other tables. And I think they should be, read it right off the agenda.
Okay. Sure. I will withdraw my motion and do it again.
Who did the second?
That would be Councilor.
I withdraw my second.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. I vote to amend Table 5.1, Table 6.1, Table 10.3, and replace Section 6.5 in its entirety to allow accessory apartments by right rather than special permit in all districts along with other design requirements.
So Tom said Section 6.5, but he meant 8.5.
My bad.
And then, was that a second, Councilor Zaret? Okay.
Yes.
Motion and second. We're back to any further discussion. Councilor Kwasinski, I know your hand was up.
Yes, I agree with Councilor Rothschild, Councilor Flood, and with Councilor Planner Bag, and with Jackie Brousseau, that this will not solve the housing affordability problems with capital A. We need to do more hard work on that subject to be able to find ways to increase housing stock for those who need it most. What we have before us is a plan to help most of the citizens, at least in my opinion, will help most of the citizens in Easthampton who currently own homes to be able to bring in other family members, whether that family member be an elderly parent or son or daughter with their family, for example, and would take over the main house while the parent moves into the smaller house. And then families could still remain and stay together. It's those kinds of options that I would not like to have us preclude. And therefore, I would be proposing an increase in the size requirement. And I hear that folks may be uncomfortable with something as large as 1,500, but I would hope that there would be a smaller number that we could agree on. And I'm going to submit that that number at this time be 1,000 square feet rather than the 900.
Are you making that amendment as a motion?
I will move to amend section 8.55B, deleting 900 and inserting 1,000.
Second.
Motion and a second to make an amendment to increase the square footage from 900 to 1,000 square feet. Any further discussion on the amendment? Councilor Rist.
I don't know where I am on this because it's only 100 square foot more, but I thought Counselor, I keep calling him a counselor, Jeff Bagg made great points on the 900, and so did Jackie. I urge the counselors to keep it at 900, mainly because the special permit process allows for larger dwellings if that's necessary. So I'd like to keep it at 900. I won't be voting for this amendment.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, Barbara? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Flood.
Sorry, I don't know if you can see me, President. I'm with Councilor Rist on this one. I'd be happy to support this at the 900. I think any larger than that, the special permit process is in place. I support all the work that's been done, but I mean, 1,000 square feet it's getting up there. It's another house in your backyard. I think we need to proceed with caution on this one.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Barbara?
Tom Peak?
Aye.
Dan Rist?
No, and I want to make clear, this is on the amendment, correct?
Right. Amendment.
No.
Lindsay Rothschild?
No.
Owen Zaret?
Yes.
Peg Coniff?
No.
Salem Derby?
Yes.
Erica Flood?
No.
Omar Gomez?
No.
JP Kaczynski?
Aye.
So we have
Motion
1,
fails.
2, 3, 4 yeses, 5 opposed.
Yep, motion does not pass. So now we're still back to the main motion. And is there any discussion on that? Okay, Barbara.
Dan Rist?
Yes.
Lindsay Rothschild?
Lindsay?
Yes, aye.
Okay. Owen Zaret?
Yes.
Peg Coniff?
Yes.
Salem Derby?
Aye.
Erica Flood?
Aye.
Omar Gomez?
Aye.
JP Kaczynski?
Aye.
Tom Peak?
Aye.
Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, you have one more item, and that is for multifamily dwellings.
Yes, and this one, my hope is, might actually lead to some big A affordable housing. So move on. So this is a proposal to amend some parts of section 8.3, which is multifamily housing.
Madam President.
Yes.
I must excuse myself. I'm not feeling well. I certainly support this very much. And I ask my fellow councilors to vote it in, but I must leave this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Riss. Feel better. Okay, go ahead, Tom.
Okay, so again, we're back to the housing production plan. Currently, both multifamily dwellings and multifamily dwellings with 15% affordable housing are allowed by special permit. So there's, in terms of permitting, there's really no difference between, these are technically two different zoning types in our zoning ordinance, like in our tables, but they have the exact same permitting requirements. So in the housing production plan on page 47, they suggest the city should consider allowing both types of housing development by site plan approval without a special permit, or at the minimum, and this is us doing the minimum, the multifamily dwelling with 15% affordable housing by site plan approval. So this was their requirement that we're looking at. And just the basic idea is to provide some permitting incentives if you're building a multifamily structure to include some affordable housing in it. There's also the other incentive that we're including here is about parking. So I just want to read this bit about parking, and I'm just going to read it verbatim because it says it better than I could. Easthampton requires an unusually high number of parking spaces for multifamily units, 1 space per bedroom plus 1 additional space per 10 units for visitors. Parking standards such as these effectively discourage housing for families, giving housing advantages to single people and childless couples. This is a sort of pretty severe sentence. It says, it is not clear that the city actually wants to see multifamily housing in any of its conventional use districts, because even the smallest lot zones where multi-unit development may be feasible, the off-street parking requirements would likely interfere. So these are points from the housing production plan. Again, these aren't Tom Peake ideas. These are straight out of the plan. So what has changed in this proposal? Multifamily units with affordable housing are changed from special permit to plan approval. You still have to go through the planning board, but the process is a little bit different. Jeff, if we need to come out to it, can, I'm sure, explain the exact differences better than I can, although I have a pretty good understanding of them. One kind of minor thing, street level dwellings were previously not allowed for this affordable stuff in the highway business and mill industrial districts. We are now allowing them. And parking requirements are relaxed for multifamily with affordable units. So again, really the whole idea of this amendment, I definitely hear what everyone was saying about big A affordable. The idea is, there's only a handful of parcels that would really be good for like a big multifamily development in any given year that are up for sale. We want to make it so that there's some real incentives for the people who are coming in to have at least some of those units be affordable. So when we say multifamily with affordable housing, what we really mean, to qualify for these incentives, you would need to either have 15% of units affordable at 80% of area median income, or you would have to have 10% of units affordable at 50% median income. This is a recommendation from the housing production plan. The idea being that if you're providing some more heavily subsidized units for people, that you don't have to put quite so many of them in. In terms of parking, we have amended the parking so that there's a new entry for multifamily housing with affordable units. We've reduced the parking for this thing from 1 per bedroom plus 1 per every 10 units to 1.5 spaces per unit. Just to sort of drive home the reason why this is important, if you are a mom with 3 kids and you want a 4-bedroom apartment, like under our zoning, there needs to be 4 parking spaces available for that unit. Now, if that's 4 adult roommates, maybe that's necessary, but the way that this is set up makes it really difficult to build housing for families, because the parking, you need these huge parking lots if you're building the sort of units that families actually need. We also allowed for the planning board to be able to reduce that for 1 per unit based on the unit mix and project location. So, the example was like in a place that's like really downtown and near bike and bus infrastructure. If the developer wanted to come and make that request, the planning board would have the option to consider it. There's no requirement that they do that, but they can consider it. And that's it. This one is a bit less technical. So that's the whole thing.
Councilor Peake, what would I do with a half of a parking space?
What I'm saying is that if it's say that it's a 10-unit building, you need 15 parking spaces.
Okay.
it's not that every unit would have a parking space and then like a weird half a parking space that maybe you could fit a motorcycle or a scooter in. It's that, you know, it's allowing the fact that some houses will have 2 or maybe even 3 cars, but that some of them will have 0 or 1, and just trying to give a developer an incentive to actually put some affordable housing into their units by streamlining the permitting process and by making the parking requirements a little bit less severe.
No, that's good. I was sort of kind of teasing you, but yeah, I do think reducing that parking issue is huge. So I appreciate you doing that. So thank you. Any other questions from councilors? None. Any questions or comments from the public? Sure, Mayor, we'll call you the public. Go ahead, Mayor.
Hi, I have a question with the affordable housing, the capital A part of this ordinance. Does it address who would manage the affordable housing, like who's eligible, wait list? How does that work? And on top of that, what does that cost the landowner?
I'm going to pass that one to Jeff, if that's okay. That's a great question.
It is a good question. In the ordinance language, there's a couple tweaks to the sentences, but it doesn't change the content. But it does require a developer to formulate a plan for bringing in tenants, and it does say that it is to be administered by a qualified nonprofit housing agency, and that's pretty common for an affordable housing development to have the requirement to have those units get administered by some other third party. I don't know what it costs, but it is, it is all of these things. I think it's important to build affordable housing does come at a cost. I mean, someone is paying to reduce the cost of living for those units, but I think that gets piled on to the things that a developer needs to look at when they're coming up with their financial, when they're looking at the financials of a project. They do have to be factoring in paying an agency to administer the unit. So that's pretty common. It doesn't mean it's not a challenge. But in the terms of the scope of this amendment, what we're really just doing is changing the permit requirements at this point to provide, like I think Councilor Peak mentioned that as the incentive is to make the permitting more predictable.
Great. And I realize that maybe I'm thinking more about if this were to pass, how do we get the word out? And that was a great answer. The other thing I would ask is if a landowner or property owner had several multifamilies throughout the city and was going to make each property half affordable, would the multiple affordable units count as one to be managed by a qualified affordable housing manager?
That's right.
I would, I would like the answer to be yes. I mean, to leave it out there is fine. And then the other is if you are making one or several like affordable units, whether they're in the same house or different addresses, I just to put it out there, what are the tax incentives, state and federal? Because I wonder if they offset property management. So a little off the question maybe, but I think to form the whole picture here, those are important questions.
Okay, Councilor Peak, do you have any comments or? No, okay. Councilor Kwasinski, I'm gonna get to you in a minute. I want the public to be able to speak right now, and I know Jackie has had her hand up for a while. So go ahead, Jackie Brousseau-Ferreira.
I also don't mind waiting. That's fine.
You want to wait?
That's fine. Yeah. I mean, Council goes first.
Okay. Councilor Kwasinski, go ahead.
I don't mind waiting either, but thank you, Jackie. I was just trying to understand the mayor's question, and Jeff, maybe you can help me with this. In conceptualizing an an owner of property owning several properties and then converting the properties, let's say they have 5 properties and they're 8 units each, total of 40 units. Are we talking about converting units all in one building and not converting the others, been calling it, making things qualify by putting all the units in one building? That didn't seem to me to be what we were doing, but rather saying on an individual parcel of land, you would qualify if you had 10 or 15% affordable on that new conversion or construction on that lot, the existing lot. Maybe you can help me with that.
Councilor Peak?
Yeah, that's my understanding of how it's currently set up, is that when we're talking about zoning, we're talking about a specific parcel. I would be open, if that's something the mayor is interested in working on and considering, is the idea of allowing a single developer to look at this sort of requirement if they space those affordable across multiple parcels. Like, that's something that I'm open to certainly talking about and thinking about, and I definitely welcome Jackie and the housing partnership's feedback on that. But my understanding right now is, since this is just zoning, that the zoning really concerns a specific parcel where something's about to be built, and the permitting requirements for the building on that. Like, I think if I wanted to come in and buy up 2 parcels of land and build 2 housing developments on there, I'd have to go through a separate permitting process for each one. So to say that these sorts of incentives should perhaps apply to both if across them this is met, is something that I think is novel and interesting and perhaps worthy of discussion. But at this time, I don't believe that the proposal that's on the table would include that. And I'd be just while I promise I'd be happy to talk about that, I'd be a little bit hesitant to try and amend something like that tonight, just because it's technical and I don't have ready language in front of me.
And is it fair, Councilor Peak, that really what we're talking about here is changing it to plan approval from special permit? All other aspects of this remain as they have prior to us changing it from plan approval to special permit, right? I mean, the scope here is
there's the parking.
Yeah, but the scope is truly removing or changing the permitting process to make that easier. But all of the other questions are still in play for another day.
Certainly. And like I've said several times, there's a lot of stuff in that housing production plan. This will not be the last time that I am asking us all to talk about this, but for right now.
You promise? You promise?
I promise.
Okay. Councilor Kwasinski.
Although I'd be certainly happy to discuss the matter on another day, I must say that my current thinking on the subject is that I really like the concept of there being an affordable portion to each structure, to each parcel, to each plot, that folks get to live with one another and get to know people that they might not necessarily get to know. And I like the concept of community living, having a living across economic spectrums, rather than to take and have one parcel over here have 50% affordable, and that qualifies me to build something else somewhere else. I really like the idea of creating a community where people live together. So I'm glad to hear that we've worked it through and we're talking about individual parcels today. And I think I would take the same position in the future, although I'd be happy to consider any thoughts on the subject.
Okay. Jackie Brousseau-Pereira.
Thanks. And I just want to not go down the rabbit hole that started going down, but I want to just say, again, representing the Easthampton Fair and Affordable Housing Partnership, and why do I love this ordinance amendment? Because I truly do. And I really thank you, Councilor Peak, for bringing this forward. I think this is a really great way to get more much needed housing in the city with fewer barriers and fewer protestations for building that housing. I've already said, the data from the recent housing production plan show that we're really in a housing crunch. And then anecdotally ask anybody who's looking for an affordable, with a small a, affordable to them apartment right now, and they will tell you that they can't find anything. So this amendment gives us a way to break down some of those barriers, build more housing by right, which is fantastic, and also add some much needed affordable housing. And 15% of an affordable, 15% affordable in a multifamily unit may not seem like a lot, but it is adding, 2 units per 14 unit development. And every little bit counts when we need to add affordable housing at this point. And this is also a number, so that the reason that that's a number that is used for developments like this is because that's actually a number that can still potentially work for a builder and give them a financially feasible project. Because as many of us know, that building of affordable housing is really complicated and very expensive for a lot of the reasons that have already been named here. So overall, excited about this amendment, much needed housing, including affordable housing, fewer barriers, all is good. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. Anyone else from the public like to make a comment? Brad.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Jackie was saying is, when I first came onto the partnership, I read the previous 5-year housing plan and, was able to see the drafting of the current 5-year housing plan. And it seemed like we were constantly trying to think of creative ways to meet that affordable housing threshold. And this amendment at least puts some of that creativity to rest. It's affordable housing that we can count on every time a development is being built. So, I love being creative with coming up with ways to find new housing, but it definitely takes a lot of the work out of it if we know that we can count on, at least 1 or 2 units being built every time we have new housing going up. So this is a little bit of teeth behind the housing plan. And it's small like the previous amendment was, but all of them together work towards the end goal. So I'm in full support of it.
Thank you, Brad. Any other comments? Councilor Peak, would you like to make a motion?
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to amend Table 5.1, Table 10.3, and Section 8.3 to allow multifamily dwellings with 15% affordable housing by plan approval rather than special permit in the R5, R10, R15, R35 downtown business, highway business, neighborhood business, and mill industrial zoning districts.
Second.
Motion. Wow, a lot of seconds. Motion and a second to amend to allow multifamily dwellings with 15% affordable housing by plan approval rather than special permit. Any further discussion? Barbara.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Yes.
Peg Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Erica Flood.
I think she's frozen. We'll come back to her.
Okay. Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Yes.
JP?
Yes.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Lindsay, you back?
No, Lindsay was here. Erica.
Erica. She's frozen.
Too bad that door is there to fit there right on the other side of the door, the glass.
So, I think we had enough votes, though, do we not, Barbara?
Erica just texted me yes.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if that
multi-technology work here. Okay. All right. Motion passes. That is all the business we had on our agenda today. Happy birthday, Barb. Thank you for hanging in there with us. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, do we need to close the public hearings first?
Oh, yeah. Somebody close the public hearing.
Close the public hearings.
Second.
Barbara?
Owen Zaret.
Yes.
Peg Coniff.
Sure.
Salem Derby. Erica Flood.
We
She's not
lost.
back.
Okay. Omar Gomez,
Aye.
JP Kaczynski,
Yes.
Tom Peak,
Aye,
Lindsay Rothschild.
everybody.
Hi. I feel like Erica would want the public hearings
Yeah,
closed as well. So the public hearings are now closed. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay. Barbara?
Peg Coniff,
Yes.
Salem Derby,
Yes.
Erica Flood, Omar Gomez,
Yes.
JP Kaczynski,
Yes.
Tom Peak,
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild,
Hi.
and Owen Zarrett.
Yes.
All right. Meeting is over. Thank you very much. Happy birthday, Barb. Take care.
Thank
Talk
you.
soon.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.